Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Alvarez, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Countdown to Kickoff. In the next 30 minutes, we'll take you out to training camp and to Seattle. You'll hear from Sam Weich and Richie McKay. You'll also meet Vernon Turner and Michael Husted, along with a pair of players who do not want to hear the label long shot. So for the next half hour, sit back, relax, and enjoy this edition of Countdown to Kickoff. Well, Dave Logan, last Saturday when I ran into you, I said, you know, we got to talk sometime, but I didn't think it'd be like this. Take it away, Dave.
Well, I tell you what, any time to talk to you, Bob, is all right with me. So if this is the way we communicate, that's fine. But before you and I get into the X and O's here from Seattle, we are playing at Husky Stadium. I want to talk to the Vice President of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's Richie McKay. Richie, first of all, congratulations on an excellent job in negotiations. Now you can sleep a little easier at night. You got your men in.
Yeah, I get to go home and see my two boys. They hadn't seen me in a couple months, so it's nice to have it over with. Like to have had both guys in day one, but that's the nature of the business. We said all along that the one thing we didn't want was for Eric to not get the opportunity to play in at least 3 games, so we've gotten that accomplished at least. He'll play tonight, and that's important to us.
Now, you've got Eric in, like you mentioned, but we talked about Trent a little bit last week. What can we expect from a guy like Eric Rett?
Well, Eric's a totally different position than Trent because Eric, number one, knows the offense pretty well. He was here for the entire month of June. He was here for our mini camp. He was here the first week of July when we worked out. So he's in good shape. He should know the system and have a pretty good feel for it. Trent is going to be at the quarterback position, becomes the general of the system. And he wasn't here in June, and he wasn't here in July, so it's harder for Trent. You know, you can't expect a lot because he has got a lot to learn.
All right, and finally, before we let you go, are there any trades that are on the horizon that we may not know about that you got some things working on?
No, we're pretty set right now. Obviously, what happens at this time, Dave, as you know, is you evaluate what you have and you see if maybe there's not an area you need to get better at, number one. And number two, there will be some salary cap maneuvers that will cause some teams to possibly let some good players go or want to trade them. You can't anticipate those. If they happen, we'll be ready.
All right, Rich. Well, thank you, and enjoy the game tonight.
All right, Dave. Thanks.
Well, Bob, that's the situation with Eric Rett and Trent Dilford. Of course, there are going to be some other surprises tonight. I'm going to throw it back to you for your opinion on tonight's game.
Well, Dave, before you leave, I want to ask you a couple questions. Let's start with the defensive line, something you know a lot about, and they did a good did a good job last week with the pressure.
Well, they did an excellent job, Bob. In fact, if you watch Santana Johnson, Eric Curry, some of the other players, that first initial burst off the line of scrimmage is really what made the difference last week. When you look at this team and you consider the fact that they held Cincinnati, they were 0. I mean, they put nothing on the board in terms of really touchdowns. Here's a team that really couldn't convert anything on third down. That's an excellent tribute to your defense. Of course, defense is going to be ahead at this time of the game, but still, all in all, a good performance. They'll get a much stiffer test tonight here in Seattle.
Dave, speaking of a stiffer test, I know Sam Weich wants to take a good look at his secondary. A guy like Rick Myrer as the quarterback, he will give them a little test. Sam will be able to take a look at some bodies.
Bob, you're right. You're talking about a guy that was last year the Rookie of the Year, shattered every rookie record. And the scary thing is he said, I really didn't know what I was doing. I felt awkward. I'm going to get better. So when you consider that and you look at the guy out here tonight, he's so much better. It's going to be a tremendous test, not only for your defensive front, but as well as your secondary people. Again, you've got Chris Warren. He's a Pro Bowl running back for Seattle. It's going to be a great test for your defense.
Dave, we're running out of time, but you're there on the field with the players. You've been with them yesterday. What is their emotional level right now?
Well, Bob, anytime you get that first win, you can kind of go into that next game feeling a little bit more confident. So I think they want to come out, establish some consistency, win on the road. It takes them back to Tampa next week, 2-0 in the preseason, and then they get to go against the Dolphins.
All right, Dave, thanks. Have a good game.
Thank you, Bob.
Dave Logan. Now, against the Seattle Seahawks, the Buccaneers have some catching up to do. This graphic pretty much spells out the story. They are winless, but they can erase that 0 tonight, and you'll see the game right here at 7.
The Bucs are here. They're here on 44.
It's your first look at QB Trent Dilford and running back Eric Rett as the Bucs battle the Seahawks live in prime time. Tonight at 7. Only on the home of the Bucs, Channel 44.
Flashing, bashing, football action. The Bucs start here. The Bucs start here.
Toyota's summer clearance means your wait is over.
And welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff. We are going back to Seattle, and joining us a man that the Seminole fans will recognize, Vic Prinzi. Vic, take it away.
Hello. Bob, how you doing?
Fine.
Welcome out here to Husky Stadium. What a beautiful day we've got for a football game.
Vic, listen, let's talk a little bit first off about the offensive line and a unit that last week had a pretty good game.
I'm sorry, Bob, but I couldn't hear you.
Let's talk a little bit about, can you hear me now? Let's talk a little bit about the offensive line. Give me your thoughts. They had a pretty good game last Saturday.
Well, I'll tell you, the offensive line last Saturday, Bob, I thought did an outstanding job. You consider the fact that there were no sacks of nature, except that one little miscue down on the line, down at the goal line. But I think the offensive line is probably going to be the strength of the offense.
Let's talk a little bit about the red zone. Last week, the Buccaneers did not do a good job in the red zone. 5 times there, they only came up with 15 points, something I know that Sam Weich wants to correct.
Well, that's the whole idea. Anytime you're inside that red zone, your job is to put points on the board, and not necessarily 3 points all the time. So you can bet that they probably have worked on that goal line offense quite a bit this week.
What about the receivers? Courtney Hawkins was hurt last week, and as far as Lamar Thomas and Horace Copeland go, big opportunities for them this week.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've got a lot of young kids coming out here today, and I think they're going to get their chance to prove themselves. But, you know, I'll tell you what, Bob, had an interview earlier today with Coach Sam Weich, and I think he has some pretty interesting things to say about Dilfer and his role tonight, and also what his expectations are.
Really the package involves what we're going to do with everybody, but Trent Dilfer is going to go in somewhere in the second quarter and then re-enter the game in the third quarter. We don't want to get him into a 2-minute situation. He's just not quite ready for that yet. On the other hand, when Eric Redd is in the ball game, he's ready for just about anything. So he could go in there in goal line situations, 2-minute situations, normal situations, and the running backs are going to substitute more freely. They're going to be in and out during the entire game.
All right, Bob, that's it from Husky Stadium here. Let's get on with the football game.
All right, Vic, thanks for joining us. Have a good game. You know, last week on Countdown to Kickoff, we talked about some of the rule changes for the '94 season. Now, the ones I like have to do with what I think is the most exciting play in football, the kickoff return. George Costeras joins us with a look at the man the Buccaneers are relying upon to give the offense a boost. George?
Thanks, Bob. You know, when the Bucs picked up Vernon Turner late last season, they touted him as an explosive kick returner. Now, Tampa Bay is still expecting this NFL veteran to supply a special team spark in '94, but that won't be his only job. It might seem like a bit much for the Bucs to ask Turner to convert to running back, but the fourth-year pro has plenty of experience. He racked up almost 2,400 yards on the ground during his collegiate career, and he realizes how important it is to be versatile.
The more you can do, the more you can stick around a place, you know. I play kick return, punt return, running back, receiver, and if needed, quarterback. And just as long as I can do anything I can to help this football team win, that's what I'll do.
That kind of attitude will certainly come in handy. The Bucs backfield has a number of ball carriers who all want to get their reps, and that means it'll be up to the coaching staff to find a way to utilize the Carson Newman grad's talents.
A lot of that will depend on the game, you know, and how we prepare for certain teams and how we look at those teams, and hopefully, you know, we'll have some plays that Vernon will be able to run, because there are certain plays that he'll be able to run a lot better than some of the other guys because of his speed and quickness.
Speed and quickness also make this Staten Island native a dangerous return man, but he says there's more to running back kicks than just those two elements.
You can't have 12 eggs in a dozen, you know. He has to have a little marbles loose and have to be a little reckless, you know. And I think I'm that. I have no fear. I don't like fair catching. I'll take the big hit. It doesn't matter. And I think you just have to be reckless and think 6 points every time.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate as a coach with having great return people, the Rod Woodsons, the Rocket Ismans, the Tim Browns, and Vernon is in that same class with those guys. He has the things that you cannot coach, and that's, like I said, the ability to see things, the vision, the explosiveness, and that's one thing that I really respect about Vernon Turner.
There's just one thing Turner still needs to do if he wants people to keep associating him with the game's best returners, and it's something no other Buccaneer has ever done. Run one all the way back. Something he says is important, but only if it's significant.
my main concern is to help this team get to a world title. And if it's not going to be a help in me returning a kick for a touchdown, then I'm not really looking at that. I want to get this team to playoff.
When I talked with running backs coach Willie Pete for this piece, he said he sees Vernon Turner in the style of Dave Meggett or Eric Metcalf, a real explosive, multi-dimensional style player. And now that Courtney Hawkins is out with a hand injury, Turner's role as a kick returner is magnified even more. Back to you, Bob.
Well, George, the line I like from Vernon Turner when talking about returning punts and kickoffs is what he told me after Saturday's game. In terms of returning one for a touchdown, he said it's not if it will happen, but when. And we'd love to see it. We are going to take our second time out. Stay with us. Countdown to kickoff. We'll return.
The big tough monster.
You've never seen a sale like it. It's the Sound Advice 20th Annual Scratch and Dent Sale, the biggest celebration of values in 2 decades. It's a monster sale. The annual clearance of every Sound Advice store, every Sound Advice warehouse, audio, video, mobile electronics, and entertainment furniture at cost and below. And to celebrate Sound Advice's 20th anniversary August Scratch and Dent Sale, manufacturers are sending us even greater special deals. Better hurry. The bang-up sales event of the year is only at Sound Advice.
From Seattle to St. Petersburg, welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff. You know, it used to be that kickers were considered, shall we say, a little different from the rest of the guys on the team. Well, tonight, Honor Garrett introduces us to a kicker that has his head on straight both on and off the field.
Thanks, Bob. Michael Husted was a rare find in '93 when this Virginia graduate won the Bucs kicking job in a 4-man training camp battle. After beating out veteran Eddie Murray and